Welcome to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. I'm your host, Fabian motherfucking Ojeda, and I don't know shit, but that's okay. All right, let's get this shit started. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. Hope you all enjoyed episode number 62 with Einar Haraldsson, the Icelandic actor. Wish him all the best as he, starts his journey into the entertainment world. But we're back with a brand new guest today, all the way from Australia. Help me welcome to the show, Mr. Andrew Jacks. How you doing, Andrew?
Very well, brother. Going well here.
Nice. Yeah, now we're going to actually let everybody in on the recording time here because we just talked about it before press and record here. But, I want to just show everybody we're really dedicated to getting this show recorded, even though we have some pretty extreme time differences. It's 6 a.m. here with me. What time is it over there for you, sir?
It is 11 p.m. on a Saturday night.
Yeah. So, I mean, we really want to get this message out to you. I think, it's something that could be very helpful. And it's fitness related. People always want to, know as much as they can about fitness. So the more I can share, I mean, I'm definitely not an expert, but I want to learn a little something about that as well. Before we jump into anything, Andrew, I always like to take the opportunity when I'm talking to international guests to kind of just check in. And, COVID was a worldwide thing. And here in California, at the time of recording, because anything could change, we're actually, we're all opened up now, and we're I would say pretty much almost back to normal. I'm sure any one person could change that, but how are you guys doing in Australia with this whole situation? Are you guys almost out of the woods there, or are you still kind of in the middle of any sort of lockdown or regulations or anything like that?
Most of this year, from the start of the year, we were pretty much free and easy with everything because we're an island, a large island. We're quite isolated from everyone. And everything was running fine. And then we even had the biggest record crowd in the world at a sporting event during COVID.
Wow.
It was at an Aussie Rules game, Aussie Rules football. We had over 70,000 people in one venue.
Wow.
And that's how good it was going. This was in Melbourne.
Uh-huh.
And then just recently, there was a little outbreak of a few cases about 3 weeks ago.
Yeesh.
And our government overreacted and went into a full lockdown for about 2 weeks.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So it can happen. So we won't get too cocky over here.
But there's the conspiracy theories that they were doing it because not enough people were getting vaccinated. So who knows?
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, we'll say so cautiously, but all right. I mean, like I said, I like to check in on that because I've talked to people from, Canada, from Iceland, from all over the place, Brazil. I'm like, let's see how this whole thing is panning out for everybody. But I want to just quickly, pivot a little bit and get to know you a little. You are in the fitness world, right? You have a very specific program that we'll talk about in a bit. But I want to, just kind of get to know your fitness journey. Like, when did you become interested? How did that come about? Everybody kind of has a story. Some people, maybe they weren't the most fit and they realized they had to make a change. Some people, they just started from birth and kept going and natural athletes. But where did you start and where did that take you?
Yeah, sure. So at the moment, I'm 41. I'm a father of 3.
Mm-hmm.
And my passion started from a young age. So from my teen years, I loved muscles. I used to watch all the Arnie films, the Sylvester Stallone films, Rambo. Van Damme was a big fan of mine. I was a big fan of his, and I wanted to look like them. I idolized them.
Mm-hmm.
And so my goal was to look like them. I had posters up on my wall, and I wanted to look like them. I love that masculine look. Also, I wanted to impress the ladies.
Right.
And so I started just training casually when I was doing weight training when I was a teenager. And then I actually I had a passion for health and fitness as well. And so I decided to take that on as a career.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a university degree, Bachelor of Applied Science in Human Movement. And I made some friends who were bodybuilders in my class, university class. And so they got me into bodybuilding. I started competitive bodybuilding because when I was at high school, I was always last at the races, at all the sporting events. I was always chosen last.
Mm-hmm.
So I was never athletic. And so I'd never had that athletic accomplishment or accolades in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was also one of the reasons why I decided to take up bodybuilding competitions.
I see.
Yeah. And so, so I started at a young age. I started training. I ended up winning 5 state titles. And then in 2004, I won an Australian title in bodybuilding.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's takes dedication, man. I know, you have everything down to like the posing and, even choosing like the right outfit or make a big difference, right?
Mate, it is a grueling sport because it involves everything, and everything is on display when you go on stage.
Yeah, even getting that bronzer in, right? You got to make sure you get that bronzer in on.
Yeah, you got to make sure all your hair's off in all places that's visible. The bronzer, your dieting, your exercise.
Mm-hmm.
It is so grueling that I spoke to an Olympic athlete recently.
Mm.
He said he did a bodybuilding contest once he finished his Olympics in '94. He said preparing for a bodybuilding contest was harder than preparing for the Olympics.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, even just something I remember watching an MTV True Life one time, and they were talking about something as simple as drinking the right kind of water. You had to drink distilled water in order to, get as much vascularity as possible. And I thought, man, you can't even drink like regular water. You have to, be that diligent about your diet and everything. It's a lot of discipline, and people think, and I think we'll talk about this a little later if we have time, but people think like, oh, well, those guys, they just jump on steroids and it's like magic. They're automatically looking like a Ninja Turtle. But
yeah, and there's different federations. There's ones that are drug tested, which are natural federations, which is what I was involved with, and then there's ones that aren't tested. So you can take steroids.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're here to, and thank you for sharing that. Just I like to make sure people understand, where you're coming from and everything like that. I understand that whole, uber masculinity thing. I grew up, I think, around the same time, it seems. And I love the Arnold films. I love Stallone and you mentioned Jean-Claude Van Damme, right? And but also like the pro wrestling, man. I don't know if you ever used to watch like the pro wrestling in the days of like Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, and those guys are all jacked. They're all jacked, man. And they're superstars, and it really makes you like look at that as a kid and be like, man, I want to look like that. And I think not enough people realize, you'll hear the whole thing about like, oh, Disney princesses, girls watch Disney princesses and they want to grow up to be like them, and that's that's a bad thing. And nobody ever talks about how the guys, go through the same thing, because we're kind of like, we're trained to do the same thing. We see something and we want to emulate it, but I don't think I've ever heard that as like a negative, right? Have you ever heard anything like that? Like, oh, that's, I mean, maybe more so recently, but growing up, nobody ever said like, oh, it's a bad thing.
No, not at all. And, if it leads to someone wanting to be disciplined in their fitness and in their health and their body, then so be it, as long as they're not going to extremes.
Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about your program. We got a Six Pack Dad, right? You got that big old bright T-shirt on right there. So let everybody know a little bit about that. I know I'm on your Facebook group. I checked it out. I mean, you really seem to know what you're talking about. Even as soon as I watched one of your videos, I actually went out and bought a balance ball. Of course, I had to make sure you got my size. It's not going to burst on me and it'll hold my weight. But I mean, I saw some stuff on there. I'm like, man, it looks pretty cool. I want to try that. But yeah, talk to everybody about your program.
Yeah, sure, man. Like, so this all originated from, being a father of three. People keep asking me, Andrew, how do you maintain that six pack? How is it possible? What are you doing? What's the secret? And because I've been able to maintain my physique over 20 years, even while having three children, and even while being a busy dad, I felt like I needed to show other dads that it's possible and how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I come up with was a 6-week program that took everyone through the steps that I take, the habits that I do every day, and these simple steps in order to lose that gut, that bad gut, if they have one, to maintain that weight easily, and also to take control of your health as well. Because it's not just about the numbers on the scale.
Right.
It's about your longevity of life, your energy levels, being a role model for your children, and all those factors as well.
Okay. So what does it entail as far as like you talk about nutrition at all, or is it mostly different exercises?
There is no exercise required for that 6-week program. And the reason why I do that is because you don't need exercise to lose weight. And that's something that people don't realize. So, and the reason why I've taken exercise out is because it's for busy dads. So the biggest struggles that dads have, busy dads, and even non-dads, time. They blame time. They don't have time to exercise, and they don't have the motivation to exercise. And what does exercise require? Time and motivation. So I completely remove that from the equation, which makes it simpler, easier, and more appealing. We build a foundation of healthy habits. So it's not just your nutrition, it's a few other things like your sleep, your hydration, all those sorts of things. And once we have that 6-week foundation set in stone, okay, then we can start looking at things like exercise.
Okay.
Because people are starting to see results. They've established those habits. They're not feeling overwhelmed. And now through self-initiation and self-motivation from them seeing results and being on this journey, they decide themselves, all right, let's get into exercise now. And when you are self-motivated and not being told what to do, it becomes a lot easier for you to do it yourself.
No, yeah, that's true. I mean, you mentioned lack of motivation. We talked a little bit about, the whole COVID thing, and throughout that whole ordeal, I lost a lot of motivation. I was already overweight as it is, but I really, without getting out of the house, having to work from home and being at a desk the whole day, I really didn't get any movement, and I didn't drive. I got a brand new truck, and I don't even think I put 1,000 miles on it, and at that point, even now I'm just like, oh, do I go to the gym? And it's like, I don't feel like it, and before in the past I would go maybe 2-3 hours, when I was younger. So to me, it sounds really intriguing because it's a different approach. I have no problem admitting I've been with the exception of, being a high school wrestler, college wrestler, a little bit of MMA after that. I've pretty much been overweight my whole life, and I've got terrible habits, even when I was even when I was a competitive athlete, I would eat like garbage, wouldn't get much sleep. So I mean, something like this is definitely intriguing, because I don't know about sleep. I don't know how I would even venture to get better sleep. If there's some like tips and tricks there that will actually work, because even something to throw on top of that, is that I used to work nighttime. I used to be a bouncer for nightclubs and bars and stuff like that, and so I feel like my sleep is in a constant state of nighttime worker, even though I haven't worked nights in like 10 years. So I mean, without giving the whole thing away, maybe what are some tips and tricks for even starting to try to get a good night's sleep?
Yeah, so we're talking about sleep here. There's people don't realize that your sleep affects your weight loss.
Right.
Okay, and maintenance. And it's not correlated, and a lot of people don't know this. So you could have the strictest diet, you could be eating the right amount of calories, you could be exercising, you could have everything down pat. But if your sleep is not enough, if your sleep is not good quality, then you're going to really struggle to lose that weight that you want to lose, even though you're doing everything else right.
Mm-hmm.
So what I try and get is for the dads that are on the program, and even for yourself, it's something you can think about, is establishing a sleep routine. Okay, and it's not just about the quantity; it's about the quality. So if you're getting the right number of hours of sleep, but by the time your head hits the pillow, it takes you an hour to sleep, or you're thinking about too many things, your mind's racing, and you're not getting quality sleep, then that doesn't count.
I see. Yeah, I mean that pretty much described me there. You know, I've seen people fall asleep in like a matter of 2-3 minutes, and I'm like, how do y'all do that? I'm like, it takes me like, you know, an hour at the very least. But yeah, that's definitely interesting in terms of nutrition. Now, a lot of fad diets out there, right? A lot of restrictive things. How restrictive is your program? Is it more kind of you ease into it? Is it like a strict something like a keto diet or something like that, or I mean, is it a little more, how do I say, forgiving?
So my diet is very sustainable and realistic. There's no keto, there's no intermittent fasting, there's no cutting out of any types of food. I work with what they currently eat, and we make modifications to what they currently eat. Because if I throw them a meal plan that with foods and recipes they've never eaten before, is it something they're going to likely stick to?
Right, it's not realistic
to do it. They're not. I have a new client who's comes from a Colombian background, and his wife cooks Colombian meals. Okay, so let's work with that. Let's work on portion controls and the amount of butter and oil you use in that, so that you can still enjoy your Colombian meals, okay, and lose weight at the same time.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
About portion control and still enjoying yourself as well.
Yeah, like I said, because a lot that makes sense too. Because a lot of the times, you know, where you have like these diets that you got to jump into, it's completely foreign. You know, if I'm used to eating, you know, like Mexican food. You know, I grew up with Mexican food, right? And you're asking me to eat kale every day. It's like, I don't know about that. You know, I don't even know what kale is exactly. But I can't even pronounce it. Quinoa. You know, it's like you expect me to switch the rice out for that. I don't know. You know, so definitely if you use, you know, their own food as like as a starting point, that sounds, you know, it sounds a lot more doable than just kind of jumping into something that's like unknown, right? But what have been some of the results that you've seen in let's talk about the dads specifically, because we do have a lot of dads listening, right? So what have been some of the results you've seen, some of the better results you've seen with some of the dads that you've worked with?
Yeah, so because it's not a rapid weight loss program, and it's something that I want just to establish habits, and we only do one habit per week. Okay, so it's not, everything's not thrown at them all at once, so they're not overwhelmed. Because it's a slow and steady program, it's more about what happens after the program, so that they can keep losing weight afterwards. So the program is not about how much weight you lose during the 6 weeks. It's more about the habits you establish, so that you can lose that weight for life and hold it off for life, so that you don't fall back to your old ways. But some of the results I get, on average, we look talking about 1 to 2 pounds per week. And I've had the most I've had someone lose is 9 kilograms in 6 weeks, which is about 20 pounds, maybe 22 pounds.
Right. And they've kept it off.
They've kept it off, and they keep losing it afterwards. And it's not just about the weight, it's how they feel. They got more energy, more focus, they're happier with the way they look, the way they feel. Yeah.
So definitely starting the foundation for something new. As far as like, your clientele, I mean, you're in Australia, right? Let's say somebody's really interested in working with you here in the United States, right? Is that something that you do? Do you have different clients from different areas? How does that work?
Brother, I take on any dads from anywhere around the world. I've got one from Wisconsin at the moment. Yeah. So the beauty of it is it's online. Most of it's done through an app. It's all done through technology. So an app, through Facebook and through Zoom as well. So it doesn't really matter where you are. It's catered for everyone.
That's great. Yeah, very, very accessible. So that's good too. And then when it comes to your program, is there anything that prospective clients should do to prepare?
Anyone can get started straight away. What I make sure that they need to have the right reasons to do it, because if they don't have enough urgency and enough reason and commitment to do it, they're not going to see it through. And so I have to qualify them before they come onto the program to make sure they're the right fit for the program. And then once they're in the program, the first thing we work on, and there's two, I'll tell this to you, there's only two things you need to worry about. There's only two things you need to control in order to lose weight and maintain a healthy weight. And they both start with M. Your mind and your mouth. If you can control those two things, this is keeping it simple, just breaking it down. If you can control those two things, that's all you need to worry about to simplify it.
Okay.
But what controls your mouth, firstly?
Your mind, for sure.
So we work on your mindset. And your mindset will help you with motivation. So we establish goals first. Your what do you want to lose? And we break that down to short-term goals. And then why? Why do you want to lose it? Because it's more than just, I want to lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds. There's reasons behind it, and everyone's reasons are different. And we need to stop and reflect on those. And we need to have that at the forefront of our minds before we get into it. So that way we're going to do a proper job and we're going to get good results and see it through.
Nice.
And that's where I dig deep as to prodding and saying, what is it really? What is it? And when I kept asking, oh, well, look, my father died early from diabetes and I don't want that to happen to me, because I want to be around for my kids and my grandkids. And when we look at that, when we look at the seriousness of that, I can't find any better motivation for someone to get their health in check and lose their weight than that. Because when they're looking at that packet of biscuits or cookies or that burger and chips, they should be thinking, this or my kids? Which ones are going to be? You see how powerful that is?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you mentioned just getting to the core of it, right? Getting to the bottom of it, to your why. That's super powerful. It's kind of like you talk about, like I think in school these days they call that like the Socratic method, where you keep saying like, but why is that? But why is that? But why is that? So it is a powerful tool, and I think when you put it in terms of like, hey, is it going to be this tasty cheeseburger or your granddaughter or your daughter or whatever? I mean, most people are inclined to choose their family. I would hate to see the person that's inclined to choose a cheeseburger, but
That's it.
Yeah. Now, this is something people usually address like through private message or anything like that. But I'll just go ahead and ask and see if you're comfortable talking about it. But as far as like affordability, cost, pricing, anything like that, is there anything you can share on the podcast for people that might be interested?
Yeah, look, I prefer to talk to people what I call a breakthrough call.
Mm-hmm.
So they can book a breakthrough call with me if they're serious and committed enough.
Right.
And it needs to be for people that have those strong reasons, such like I said, worried about how long they're going to live, being that role model for their children. Because if it's just about the numbers on the scales, they're not going to be willing to invest in their health, and the program's not going to be a good fit for them. So it's not your regular cheap online generic program that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get accountability, support, daily check-ins from me, and you're going to get guaranteed results. So it's for those that are willing to invest.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, so if they're interested, I'll tag you on the post when the podcast is out next weekend. And they can check you out from there, and it's something that you're going to want to invest in, right? Like, it's not, like you mentioned, it's not like your run of the mill, like, I can't even think who does these like videos anymore, these workout videos, but it's not like your was it T one of these T90 something videos or whatever. It's a lifestyle. Yeah, there you go. It's a lifestyle change, right? Because I've seen people who are in worse shape than me that say, "Oh yeah, I've done that T90 thing like 5 times already." I'm like, but it didn't do anything for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So it's definitely a different approach, a lifestyle change, and so I think it's it's worth having that conversation with you if somebody's interested. Really quickly, I want to pick your brain. You're a fitness I would say a fitness expert. Some people are humble, so I don't know if how you feel about that. But I see you're somebody who knows what he's talking about. So definitely a fitness expert, and I want to get your thoughts on a few things. Fitness has become sort of like this online, look at me kind of braggadocious type of thing, right? And more people are kind of putting that facade out there that, oh, I'm fit, and as soon as they start going to the gym, they'll have this whole like, oh, go follow my fitness page, right? I mean, that's a good thing, I suppose, but I don't know. I think there's also a lot of people who are not qualified to, to post like fitness pages and start handing out advice, right? For somebody like yourself who is doing something legitimate that's helping people, right? When you see things like that, I mean, obviously you're doing your own thing. You don't have to be bothered by it, but more than not, does it kind of does it bother you? Does it annoy you more, or you're just kind of like, hey, they're doing their own thing, let them make their money or whatever, and give people advice. What are your thoughts on that as somebody who's really skilled and an expert in the field?
Yeah, sure. I think the biggest thing that bothers me is when I go to the gym and I see people doing selfies more than sets.
There you go. Yeah.
Man, oh man, especially some of the females, sorry to say, they're out there they're all dressed up in makeup and their high brand clothing, and they're in the mirror most of the time or on their phone.
Yep.
But look, I think if you're going to do that, just realize, are you doing it for yourself or are you doing it for the people to help? And you've got an obligation, you've got a responsibility of other people's lives, of their livelihoods, of their own health. And you've got to ask yourself, am I the right person for this? Am I genuinely and truly wanting to help this person, or am I just trying to elevate my status?
Mm-hmm.
And that comes with maturity, I think, and life experience.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also the aspect of, am I qualified and properly trained enough to help these people? Or am I doing this just because I was able to do it in 12 weeks and now I want to make some money and start doing it for someone else?
Right.
Because you can become qualified within 6 weeks, I think, via online courses.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done a 3-year university degree. So And then it also brandishes people like myself that people become skeptical about because they've been burnt by people like that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's my, that's what I wanted to kind of, get to. And a lot of people are, right off the bat, once they hear, I've got this program, they're going to turn their ears off, right? And it's because of, I think, a lot of these phony like Instagram people who, they've got a plan and they burned somebody already. They tried their plan and something bad happened, or the results didn't get them, or they were too, or the trainer was too pushy, and I think a lot of the time people in this whole new, and it's a new world, because everybody has access to promotion now, right? There are a lot of bad people in this field. They're out to make a quick buck, and they're very aggressive a lot of the time too about how they approach things, and they burn a lot of people. And for people genuinely seeking help, I mean, that's very problematic.
Yeah, and it makes my job harder because I have to work harder now to build people's trust.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm spending a lot of time nurturing people through the whole process. So I have to get people into my Facebook group. I have to give a lot of value first before they can say, okay, this guy's legit. Now I'll consider investing in him.
For sure. Yeah. I like the concept, the working with dads. So I think you picked a cool, audience there, because not a lot of people focus on the whole, on dads. They focus on moms, busy moms all the time, but people, and even so to the point, right, where they started throwing out there things like dad bod, right? And I wanted to ask you, as the six-pack dad, what do you think about the whole dad bod trend out there, where supposedly it's sexy to have the beer gut and no muscle tone?
Is that just an excuse to be lazy?
Right. Yeah.
Well, I've on my Facebook profile, I've deliberately put a photo of me with my top off, so showing my six-pack, with embracing my children, to see it can happen. Mm-hmm. And I get a lot of people inspired by it, and that attracts people to me because they see me. They can't argue against what they see,
mm-hmm.
and the picture tells 1,000 words.
Mm-hmm. Now, aside from your program and everything, are you busy doing like full-time work or anything like that, or has this become more your business and your full-time thing?
Yeah, so I used to work in person at gyms and things like that. Mm-hmm. But now I've completely switched to online, and I might just have the one or two clients one-on-one at the gyms, but I'm trying to focus more on my online program because I'm able. It's a model where it allows me to help more dads with the same amount of time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Silly question. A lot of people do the whole the dry scooping on their powders and stuff like that. What do you think about that?
Dry scooping? What does that mean?
Oh, so where you take your pre-workout with no water, you just kind of you just chug the powder.
Why is that? I'm not a fan of that.
I have no idea. I thought maybe you would know. No, I think it's something that people think makes them more makes it absorb faster into your body or something like that. Or I don't know. It's the cool thing to do on the internet these days. To chug your supplements with no water or without mixing it first. So I guess they'll take the supplement and then maybe drink a little spritz of water after. But good. It seems to be something you're not familiar with. So maybe it's just the kids on Instagram and TikTok and all of that.
Yeah, I don't really have too much time for TikTok and Insta, but if they're doing it, it's either, I would have thought it's because they don't have a water bottle with them.
Maybe. And then I quickly asked from a male perspective, because the first topic I ever did on the podcast was steroids, right? And I mentioned them briefly in the beginning of the podcast. Something like that, has a very negative connotation. They used to be legal in a lot of countries, including the U.S. And some people swear by them these days, and say they're never going to get off of them. Including my cousin who was on the first episode of the podcast. He said he feels like he's going to be doing steroids his whole life, right? What I mean as a man who's in great physical condition, right? Who helps other people. What are your thoughts on something like steroids? Is it like something to be looked down upon and frowned upon, or can it be a useful tool to maintain your body? It's just a lot of negative connotations around it, right? So I don't know the status of it in Australia. I'm assuming it's illegal as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely illegal, but people still get it through somehow, and people are still, there's a lot of users out there looking for the quick fix. And the funny thing is, I can tell now through my experience just by the people's demeanor, and also by how they look and how quickly they're growing. And also there's some imperfections because I'm a bodybuilding judge as well, and you can tell by the imperfections and the disproportionate muscles that they're on it. And so when I see them, I'm like, some people are using it and spending their money on it and ruining their health, and they're not improving much. And it's like, I look better than you, and you're taking this stuff. It's ridiculous. Look, it's you're ruining your health. I thought about taking it when I started off to get faster results. I was very tempted to, and I thank God that I didn't, because I can just say I've been drug free all my life. It has not. I've not ruined my body from it. I've not ruined my health, and I even know some people that have taken it have died at an early age, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So is the short-term reward worth the long-term, pain, so to speak?
Yeah. And I think as soon as you get off of them, you start to deflate fairly quickly, I think, right? I mean, I've never taken them. I don't have experience with it, but from what I've seen, once you get off of them for a bit, you start to kind of just go back to normal pretty quickly.
Yeah. So the whole idea is you're able to be stronger and lift more, and as soon as you get off it, you can't lift the same amount of weight, and so your muscles respond and they get smaller. So you're going to have to keep taking them. Yeah.
Well, that's always something interesting I like to talk about. Especially if I get a chance to talk to another man on the podcast about fitness. Because it seems like it's like candy these days in gyms. I remember even just like a cheap $10 a month gym. I would see steroid needles in the parking lot, or in the locker room. I'm like, are you kidding me? They're paying. They pay like the $10 a month to go to a discount gym. It's not even like the serious, like bodybuilder gyms, but there's needles all over the place, and the people that go there are clearly on steroids. It's like, I don't understand. Like, you're not like, even though for something like competing, even, let's say you were like trying to be a fighter or something like that, or a strongman or something like that. Yes, that would be even something like cheap, but they're not even doing that. They're just like, taking the steroids just aesthetically, just to look more cut or built or whatever. And I think that's definitely, it's a bad trend right now. I think a lot of people, a lot of young people think that, oh, it's okay. They don't realize that once they get off of it, it's going to ruin their internal, regulation, like their body's not going to respond the same and produce the same hormones and whatnot,
Yeah. And if you're a male, and you're taking it from a young age, it could affect your ability to have children as well.
That too. Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully that's something we see kind of decline who knows? Who knows?
Mm.
But Andrew, I wanted to just circle back again to your program and see if there's anything else that you wanted to throw out there for everybody on to kind of think about on the podcast, and your last minute sort of like, I know, and it's more of a serious thing. I know you like to have that conversation, but any sort of last minute pitch you want to throw out there to people?
Yeah, sure. So if anything I've said, if you're a father or even a father to be, and what I've said has resonated with you, and you're just thinking about it, and you're willing and able to invest in your health, then I'd be happy to have a chat with you, even all the way from Melbourne, Australia. What you can do is you can go to my website. It's called ditchthedadfat.com. You type in your email address there. You get access to a video where I explain a little bit more about the program. There's some testimonial videos. You can have a watch of the other dads that have done it. And if it's something that you want to do, book a call with me. We'll have a half an hour chat. And if I find that you're the right person for the program, I'm not going to force you into it. Just have a chat. If I find that you're the right fit, you can say yes or no. And then we can go from there. Simple as that.
Nice. So ditchthebadfat.com.
Ditchthedadfat.com.
The dad fat. Okay.
Thedadfat.com.
There we go.
Yeah. And I also have a Facebook group called Weight Loss for Dads Tribe as well. I'll go live there every week. Every week, every Friday, Saturday. And I just have a free training there. And I also have a podcast called Ditch the Dad Fat.
There we go. Now, are you on Instagram at all right now?
I'm on Instagram as Six Pack Dad 1.
Okay, cool.
But
So
my main thing is Facebook, really.
Okay, nice. All right, so I'll tag you on both of those when we get this out there. But definitely a pleasure having you on. I think I hope people reach out. I mean, I'm going to check out ditchthedadfat.com. But yeah, like pleasure having you all the way from Australia, man. I know we made the timing work, so that's great.
Yeah, awesome, man. Nice to be on here. Nice to talk to everyone. It's been an honor.
All right, for everybody listening at home, I appreciate it. Thank you. Fuck you and good night.
Subscribe to the Ignorance is Strength podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Like, follow, and share on Facebook and Instagram at Ignorance is Strength Podcast, and on Twitter at The Ignorance Pod.